Hello and welcome to episode 1 of Meet the Collector. Well, I spoke with Rob from Essex Retro Gamer. Really good chat. Make sure you hang around to the end because Rob shares some absolute masterpieces and gems from his own personal collection. Let's go. Okay, so welcome to episode 1 of Meet the Collector. Today we have got Rob from Essex Retro Gamer. And I must say, pretty amazing collection. I've been over, checked out his channel. So, how you doing, Rob? You all right?
All good. Thanks, mate. All good. Great to be here.
So, I just thought we'd start off with perhaps a little intro about yourself, where you're based, and so on, and kind of how you got into the hobby of game collecting.
Okay, so where I'm based is Essex, the Essex Retro Gamer. So in a place called Benfleet, which is kind of off to one side of Essex, about 40 minutes from London, which is all good. Love being here, love living in Essex. It is really a great place to be. Don't let the people tell you otherwise. It is a fantastic place to be. And was and is still really kind of a hotbed for retro games and retro game collecting. There seems to be a lot of people in Essex that collect retro games. And there's certainly also a number of shops. I wish there was more, but there are some decent shops, and that they kind of play a little bit of a part in the whole collecting piece. Because if you're in the middle of nowhere and there's nowhere to buy games from, you're going to half struggle to be a collector, obviously. But where it all started was really from being a kid, I suppose. I mean, I was somebody that loved to hoard things, or from really young, collecting football stickers in sticker books, like probably a lot of us did, having to have them all. I was one of them kids that sent off at the end to get the last
few to complete it off.
Had to complete the book. And like my love of collecting things, if you forget about the gaming bit for now, my love of collecting things come from there. And then I suppose just over the years, collecting, getting game, and then started to get interested in games. Had a NES first, and as I didn't have any of the tape stuff, or and anybody that watches the channel will know that I'm not massively keen on any of that stuff. Don't collect any of that stuff. But factually, it was the NES first for me. I really, really enjoyed the console, and I didn't have to sell the NES when I got a Super Nintendo. I didn't necessarily have to sell the NES, so I kind of kept it. And anyway, I wasn't one of these that necessarily needed to sell it to buy another one. My parents did okay, and we prospered from that. Obviously, me and my brother did all right from that. So there wasn't a desperate need to sell, but inevitably, like everybody does, you still did. And at about maybe, I don't know, maybe like 13, 14, I put some bits in the loft, and I sold other bits, and I just got one console, and I just played that console, and it never really played a lot of ISS, played a lot of football games, and that was that. Weren't really too hardcore into it. Then maybe, I don't know, 5 years after that, I'm terrible with timelines. Maybe 5 years after that, Xbox 360 was kind of coming out. Maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe I was 20 roughly. Xbox 360 was kind of coming out. Bought an Xbox 360, played that, really loved it, loved achievement points, got right into gaming again. And then I was moving out, and I went up into moving out into my own house, went up into the loft, and I had all these consoles that I'd put up there.
Oh man.
And games that I'd put up there. Some obviously I'd got rid of, some I'd put up there. And I just thought, I should get these down. And you get them down and you plug them in and you mess about, and some of it don't work on the TV and some of it does, and some of it don't work full stop, so then you're messing about. And then I spoke to my mates, and my mates were like, I've got some of that old rubbish in the loft as well. I'll have to I'll dig it out for you, you can have it, it's rubbish, it's terrible, it's terrible. So I get all this stuff, and that was really probably about 25-ish when it all started again. And that was when I started collecting things again. And I went through stages. I'd go a couple of years not collect anything, then I'd go hard collecting for maybe 6 months. then I'd go through. But the key was, and this is maybe a piece of advice, I don't know, although I hate giving advice because the reality is do what you want. 20, just don't sell it. I just didn't sell it.
Yeah.
So because I've never sold it from 25, if I went off for 2 years and didn't collect, I just didn't sell it either.
No.
So where a lot of people, and I actually know people in this hobby, as you probably will as well, that they collect loads and they spend loads of money, then they sell it all, and then a month later they go, I would like to get a couple of games on the PS1, and because that was what I had when I was a kid, and then it all starts again, and it's just a merry-go-round. I never entered that merry-go-round. I just collected. When I got bored, I left it, but I kept it. And then I started collecting again, and that was how you end up with.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, I'm one of those people. Unfortunately, a lot of my stuff I got rid of. I mean, nothing from my childhood. I don't own any of that still. But I mean, I can remember, like you say, putting stuff up in the loft, and then I think my mum just chucked a load of my stuff out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, what? Jesus Christ! But yeah, I mean, I'm going back to sort of like vintage Star Wars stuff and everything like that. Do you know what I mean? It all got thrown out.
Yeah. We've bought stuff, honestly. We've bought stuff off of people, like older people, and they've said, like you've gone to Facebook Marketplace and Joe's got out the car to go and grab the stuff, and they've gone, all right, dear, this was my son's. It's been in the loft for years. He doesn't live with us anymore. And you think, he probably, if he knew what this was worth, he probably would want to have it. But
I know
they sell it on and they don't realise. But no, as in youth, I mean, I've got a Mega CD that I had as a kid. So
a lot of this stuff is your original stuff. A lot of it, obviously, I know you bought a lot of stuff, but you still own some of your childhood.
Yeah, some though. You say the words a lot. A lot is probably not right. Some of the stuff is from a kid. So I think the Xbox. Well, I've actually got my original Xbox. I don't have it in the room. It's still in the loft. I've got my original Xbox or OG Xbox, whatever you want to call it, and it's like a Frankenstein. It's got a CD, an external PC CD drive on the outside of it because it's modified and all of this stuff. Because I had like 500 backups and all this ridiculousness back in the day, and so I've still got that. My Mega CD is the one from being from a kid. I think one of the Dreamcasts is from being a kid. A Saturn is from being is from like 20s, early 20s. But I've also got 2 other Saturns, so it's hard to know what one, but there is a Saturn, and I do know what one because it's got a cash converter sticker on the back of it because I bought it out of cash converters all them years ago. So there's a few. I couldn't go through. There's like a couple of Game Boys and stuff, but it was just boxes and boxes of stuff.
Oh, that's mental, man. I mean, because I remember going back I think I'd probably have a museum if I'd have kept a lot of the stuff. I know you mentioned no tapes, but I was from the era where that was a big part of it. Spectrums and Commodores and VIC-20s and all that. And I am tempted to get one. I know it's purely nostalgic. It's purely nostalgic. It'll be a complete nightmare when you go to play it. It'll just be, what the hell am I doing with this? But it's just something about it. I mean, I'm still on the fence, I must admit, but.
Well, you guys, I mean, and look, there's a lot of you out there. There's a lot of fans, and I do get it. I do understand that it's a nostalgia thing. But, I'm nostalgic for a lot of things. I see you don't see them anymore, but if I saw a Metro driving down the road, I'd be really nostalgic.
Of course.
For it. But the last thing I want to do is drive one around. So, you can be nostalgic for something, but if it's absolutely god awful, then I think you should probably leave it in the past. But I'm not saying that everything is awful on them systems. It's not, of course there's a couple.
Don't you like though? I'm a bit of a even the design of things. I like the iconic designs and stuff. I'll probably never turn it on, but just to have it is, there are things like I really like the certain look and the sort of the aesthetics, if you like, of consoles and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean?
Look, this is why I liked your channel from the start, and it's why I've watched your content, is because you're very open and honest. The fact that you would just have it on the side and look at it, there's nothing wrong with that at all. You should absolutely get one if that's what it's all about for you, and if it's a nostalgia thing. But play it, and it might bring back some memories. But I don't think you'll enjoy it.
What the hell are we doing? Yeah,
someday.
Okay, so yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, great intro. So moving on then. So just I wonder if you did have like a favorite console to collect for. I know I've got one, but I mean, I was just wondering if
It's
you have one.
hard. It's one of the hardest questions. Reason I'll explain. Reason it's really difficult for me to answer is because I tend to collect a lot of the time on condition. And
Yeah.
what happens is, so I love collecting for N64. Now, that is not because N64 is by far the greatest console or anything. It's absolutely not. Everybody will tell you that it's not. I will tell you that it's not. Some of the games are absolutely atrocious. The graphics is like Vaseline being smeared all over the screen. It's not a particularly great thing. But it is very nostalgic for me. I absolutely hammered GoldenEye. I played Odd Job and the Golden Gun. Like, that was my rules. If you come to my house, I was Odd Job with the Golden Gun. When we played Golden Gun, I'd run to where it was, and we used to just hammer GoldenEye. I was a massive fan of N64 back in the day. So it's very nostalgic for me. But because I collect a certain condition. They ain't out there, they're not about as much. So if I go into a retro game shop, or if I go to a retro game fair or something like that, I'm not just picking up games for the sake of it, because people will pick up N64 games for the sake of it. They'll go, oh, well, I'll get that because I had that and I want to play it. Okay, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But if I can see it, and even if I want to play it and I think, oh, I had that when I was a kid, I really want that, I will not buy it if it's not a good condition copy.
Right. Okay. Well.
So I would rather at that point say, look, I'll get that. This is a marathon. This isn't a sprint. I'll get that in better condition and I'll pay more for it. Some people go, oh, well, if you've got the money, you can buy the more condition one. No, maybe I'll find a cheaper one. Maybe I'll find cheaper, but it will just be lucky. I'll just get lucky and it'll be in great condition.
Yeah.
And if that's the case of what I do, I'll leave it and I might go buy an Xbox game that's in great condition. And people say, well, like, so do you collect for Xbox or N64? Like, what's your favourite console out of them two? Well, I love both of them. I've got memories of playing both of them. When I think back to being a kid or through my entire ages, when I was 20, no, older than that. When I was mid-20s, I had a PS3 and an Xbox 360. I wasn't one of these that just had one. And
Sony or Microsoft or one or the other. Yeah.
I had Gran Turismo. Like, when I was a kid, my brother had a Mega Drive and I had a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't have a Master System when I was a kid. But I still enjoy collecting Master System because my friends had Master System and I still played Master System. I just didn't own it myself. But what I'm trying to say is, if you think of consoles, some people would say my dad was kind of interested in he was quite technical, he was into tech. And so he would be interested in buying these things, and he loves spending money as well. So he would be interested in buying these things. Is probably where I get it from. So, we had all the consoles over time. So I haven't got any real. So, but anyway, nowadays I love collecting Dreamcast because Dreamcast was real arcade in the home for me. I was obsessed with silly games like Virtua Striker, like I've said on my channel before. Ferrari. I used to play the 355 Ferrari game in the arcade, and then I was able to play at home. Street Fighter, I was able to play really sort of intense arcade versions of Street Fighter at home, and I love the blue spines, and I love having all the cases with all the hinges and all the manuals and all uniformed.
As long as the spines aren't folding back, right?
I cannot have them. I cannot have them again. Anybody that watches the chat will know, if one of them, the iron is coming straight out. If one of them are folded back, I actually bought one. It's funny you should say that. I actually bought, what game was it? I'm trying to look for it now. I actually bought a Dreamcast game because I've got like 20 Dreamcast. I'm down to 27 Dreamcast games required now.
Wow.
Set. And I bought a Dreamcast game the other day, and it was folded right back. And I thought, oh my god, I'm gonna have to. So I got the iron straight.
The OCD kicked in.
Perfect. Yeah. But yeah, so Dreamcast. I actually love collecting for the Dreamcast. Such a varied system. But you know what? I'm a collector of everything. everyone has a go at me. They say, Rob, how can you collect all these things? You'll never stick to it. When I first come on YouTube, they said you'll never stick to it. You'll downsize. You'll get rid of fodder. You cannot possibly stay collecting for everything. I collect for everything.
That's exactly. For me, it's all about. I mean, my personal favourite's PS2, but for me, I like is for me, it's the hunt. I like going out, and I'm a bit of a. I think there are levels to this game. Obviously, you can go out and you can just buy the most pristine premium stuff.
Yeah.
You can go to dealerships, you can go to CEX or anything like that.
Yeah.
Go out and spend what you like and get what you like. And then there's the other side, which is like the sort of thrill of the hunt. And that is as much about it for me. I mean.
Yeah.
I love it. Like, we're not quite at that stage down here yet, but it's like when all the car boots and stuff kick off. Now it's really hard now. Like you say, you're not going to
It's
go out
impossible
and find a box of SNES games for £1 each. That ain't happening. But you do still get some pretty good stuff. I mean, last season when we went out, I can remember finding Silent Hill for a couple of quid. I remember I found 4 Sega Saturn games for like £1 each. They were in with DVDs, and the bloke went, "Everything's £1." There are the little diamonds are out there, and that is gave me as much of a buzz as actually. Do you know what I mean? This is a game I really need or whatever. It's stuff like that, like you say.
But our problem, John, is that there's too many. There's too many traders now around here.
Oh, absolutely.
And it might get to your area as well. I've got to get up, I've got to get out of bed and leave Joe at 5 o'clock in the morning, to go and argue over, a tenner's worth of Sega Saturn game, which I can buy for 15 quid. Like, I'll keep the £5.
Yeah.
So I'll spend the £5 to go to lay with Joe for an extra couple of hours.
Yeah.
We're not lazy people, but at the same time, I can't. But I still get tempted, and I still feel sometimes like I have to, and I want to, and I need to get, and I need to get up, and I need to go out there, and I need to hunt. And every time I do, and I did go a few times last year, I find nothing.
No, it is, like you say, it is one of my biggest regrets. And then just the last bit on this, and then we'll move on. But last year's when we was out at the car boots, I was there all of 10 minutes. And I could have been home in 20 minutes had this deal had happened, right? I was literally walking across the field, and a guy was walking past from me. This is just tells you it's all about timing, the chances and everything like that. Yep. As I was walking across, this guy walked past me, and he had a box, right? Carrying it like this. And I just glanced over, and I just saw like Atari 2600, like a game box. And I looked in there, I went, "Christ, is that a load of Atari?" And he goes, "I've got the console and a load of games in here." And I went, "Have you just bought that, or are you selling it?" He said, No, I'm selling it. And I said, "Let's have a look then." He goes, "I've got more in the car. Do you want to come over to the car?" I said, Yeah, Jesus Christ. So he brought out 2 boxes of this stuff, right? And I'm like, I only had 100 quid on me. That's all I had on me. I said, "Mate, I've got a oneer. You take it?" And he went, No, not even close. And I kind of walked away, and I thought, I could have done a bank transfer. I could have done PayPal.
Yeah, you could have done something.
Around. Yeah. But we just carried on. And I come home that day, and I thought, someone has just walked from almost a set of. Yeah. I mean, value-wise, probably he was about right, maybe a little bit more. But it was just to be able to come home and have that. Do you know what I mean? On one day, all day. Yeah. But yeah, that was like a rarity, an absolute rarity.
Yeah, we've had some, we have had some results from boot sales years ago, but nowadays and I'll leave it to them. There's some real good guys in this area as well. I'll leave it to them. You guys have it. It's fine. I don't mind. I'll pay the extra, because I cannot be getting up at that sort of time with a little torch hunting through car windows. No, that's not for me. I'm out of that nowadays.
So yeah, I know what you mean, mate. I know what you mean. So on that, this kind of leads all right actually into this next question, because I think it'd be interesting to get your opinion on this.
Yeah.
So I think based on what we're saying, that like the whole kind of the kind of cheap finding the gold, the diamonds in the rough and all that. So where do you see the hobby going, sort of in the future? I.e., and what I think, I mean, we're probably seeing the last generation of physical games now, aren't we? I would have thought on
I
the
would have
the
thought so.
PS5 and the the new Xbox and stuff. So where do you kind of see the hobby going?
I think the removal of, I mean, for years now, we've heard, I think there was maybe about 5 years ago, people were saying, oh, the NES games have gone through the floor. The SNES games are going through because there was a real high for SNES games at one point, maybe about 5 years ago. And then about 3 years ago, it was like, oh, they're all going through the floor. No one wants SNES games anymore, which obviously wasn't true. And they're climbing again. And I think that there's a lot of people that have this, what they believe, this crystal ball about prices and the fact that when physical media goes, it will mean that no one will want this stuff. Or when people get to a certain age, it will mean that no one will want this stuff. So, when a 20-year-old becomes 50, his era will be digital and he won't even want what a game is. He won't even want a game on the
Yeah,
NES, for example. If that was true, I mean, look, I can see a bit of it. But for me, if that was actually true, I wouldn't want certain games. You wouldn't want certain games. Or our children wouldn't. My kids wouldn't want to try certain games, but they do, because there's an inquisitiveness there where people say, "Well, where did this begin?" Oh, I'm playing Mario Odyssey 17. What did Mario used to look like? If you go to a museum, you still give Pong a go. You go to the Cambridge Computer Museum, you still give some of them old. I mean, I played a Spectrum. Oh, it didn't do much for me, but I played a Spectrum and stuff. I played Chase HQ OOL last year on, I can't even think what it was. Might have been a Commodore 64. It was the worst thing. If it was a Commodore, it was either the Spectrum or the Commodore 64. Chase HQ is bad on both of them consoles or computers. See what I mean? Again, computers, not consoles. Like, what I mean is that I still wanted to try it. I get that I didn't want to buy it, but I still wanted to try it. And I still think there'll be an audience for this stuff. And I think there'll be an audience for a long time, a long, long time. I think that the way the hobby is going, though, is that it is all becoming, and you can't get away from it. And at least I'm open about it. And I think you are as well. It is becoming a kind of money orientated hobby.
Yeah.
You can't get too far away from the value of things in nearly every single aspect of the hobby. If you go on Facebook pages, if you go on YouTube and watch YouTube videos, generally, if someone says these are my top 5 games on the Xbox or top 5 games on the PS2, and one of them might be a little bit pricey, Silent Hill 2, for example. They always reference the price of the game. And not only is this one a really great game, it's also quite an expensive game nowadays. So keep your eyes open for it. Like, people are constantly referencing prices, me included, by the way. So I think the way the hobby's going, unfortunately, the money, I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm just saying the money side of things seems to be taking over a lot with regards to the retro collecting hobby.
I think, I'll probably agree with you on that.
Yeah, I don't know where that means it will go. I think it will possibly go into, there's a lot of shelf collectors, like I can be classed as a shelf collector at times. There's a lot of shelf collectors. I love owning, I mean, I just bought Moho on Dreamcast because I needed it. It's an expensive game. There you go, see what I mean? It isn't ever going to get played. It's atrocious. I've played it. People go, you don't play your games. I don't need to play it because I know how bad it is. I don't need to play it. But I still want it because it's a rare game that I've always wanted. And if I want a full set of Dreamcast, I've got to buy it. I'm kind of up a creek without a paddle, because if I want a full set. Now, there is an argument, why do you want a full set? You don't need a full set. Yeah, okay, I get it. But
that's a bit
what a collector does.
Yeah, that's a little bit, because I think, like you say, if you're a multi-millionaire, you just go out and buy a full SNES set, wouldn't you? Would that give you the satisfaction, though, of having to build it and having to do it and having to source it? And I don't think it would. I mean, I think I think a lot of what we do is a kind of, going back to our youth and,
Yep.
remembering old times and, better times for some people and, reliving that part of it. You know, 90, I think I've told you before, 99% of these games never go in their console. They never go in their console. They never will.
No.
You
Well,
know,
you're a collector first. You
of
collect
course,
games. That's
absolutely.
what, and that's
Yeah.
what I do. I
And
collect
then
games.
a lot of these stuff I never remember playing when
No.
I was a kid. A lot of them I have to get because they were like a big part of, like my life.
Mm.
But I think, for me, during the COVID years, right, the COVID years, which we can talk about now, like that,
Mm.
a lot of things, markets went mad for a lot of stuff. Sports
Yes.
cards, Pokemon cards, trading cards, stuff like this. They all went through the roof, right? People were just buying up stuff that had no interest in what they were. They didn't play them as kids. You know what I mean? You had, you know, grown adults and stuff going out buying up Pokemon cards, which is totally fine, by the way. I'm not knocking that at all. But
Yep.
they were doing it purely as like an investment stuff, weren't they? They were going out and buying, a graded Charizard. And I mean, I can't talk because I've got some of these, but you can go out and buy one of them, purely holding on to it, speculating that is going to go up. That 500 quid card is now going to be worth £2,000. And some cases that worked out.
Yep.
And in other cases, it all tanked through the floor. But I see, everything that we've got here, you can't really, if you're talking about purely financially, you're not going to lose on any of this stuff.
It's
Do you know what
one
I
of
mean?
the only
'Cause
hobbies.
it's
Me and Joe was
physical
talking about
things.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the only hobbies I think where you can buy lots of it, you can collect it. It's affordable depending on what you collect, obviously, but it's relatively affordable depending on what road you go down. You're able to play it or get use out of it, and you're likely to not lose money on it. There's a possibility that you might lose a percentage,
Yeah.
but it's always going to be worth something. And there's a very good chance. So when you think about hobbies, I mean, I was into RC cars, like remote control cars. I paid loads of money on, they would call them bashers. And then I started racing remote control cars, spent loads of money on racing remote control cars. At the end, I couldn't sell it, or I did eventually, but I lost loads of money. It hasn't got that value retaining feature. Where a lot of this gaming stuff does retain value, and there is an appetite for it, and you get to enjoy it, and you get to collect it, and you get pleasure from looking at it, and you get pleasure from talking about it.
Exactly.
And I just don't think there's a better hobby, and
No.
I think that's why more and more people are getting into it. It's just a fantastic hobby. I love retro game collecting. It's why I do it.
It's a strange thing because going back to the Pokemon sort of comparison, like the Pokemon cards. And I can imagine, I mean, I collect sports cards as well. That's another big thing of mine. I like the sort of sports stuff. But again, that's like you say, all that does, that's a bit of memorabilia. It just sits on a shelf somewhere. It's nice if you like that particular sportsman or whatever. But anyway, so like Pokemon cards, I mean, they are mass printed. And I mean mass printed in the, the hundreds of thousands, the millions, whatever you want. And essentially that's a bit of cardboard, right? And again, I'm not knocking the whole niche at all. I know some people are really, really well into it, and that's brilliant. Good luck to them. But that type of thing, you get that graded, you send it off. Someone wants to put it in a slab. They're judging the corners and everything like this. And then that comes back at a 9 or a 10 or whatever, based on that person's opinion, right? So, and then you either then made a load of money out of it or whatever. So then your only option then is to then sell that to get anything out of it. Or stick it on your shelf and then just leave it and look at it, and that's fine, and collect it. Computer games and video games, like you say, the amount of hours that have gone into the creation of those things in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Going back to my day, I know you didn't like them, but like, the cassette-based stuff, that would often be like one dude in his bedroom that coded the whole thing. Right?
Oh, don't worry, John. I can tell by a lot of the games.
He made that whole
it's one
thing.
guy in his bedroom.
Right? One guy's made that whole thing. He's put all his effort into it.
Yeah.
for someone like you to go and rip it apart. But anyway,
Yeah, when the key is just jumping over things and checking filing cabinets over and over and over again, and that's renowned as one of the best games on the system. Yes, I fully understand that one person in his bedroom could have created.
Okay, well, we'll use a different analogy. A lot of the other ones, whole, blockbuster teams are involved and everything like that. So they are, they're like you say, they're they're bits of artwork. But anyway,
yeah, they are, and there's games even on them systems and on all the systems. It's there's one thing that I don't think I can be knocked for. I do really, really love this hobby. I do really, really love collecting retro games. I've done it for a long time. I'm going to continue to do it. I don't sell things. I'm not a trader of any kind. I don't make money from it or anything like that. I just love collecting games. So
do you collect any of the? Do you have any of the modern systems then, or?
Yeah, I've got a Switch. I've got a PS5. We play PS5. I mean, I play my I play my sim rig. If you can call.
I see that. Yeah. Oh, so that's PS5, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I use PS5. I've got a PC on it as well, so I play Assetto Corsa. I play a few racing games, but no PS5. I mean, we're playing Hogwarts Legacy at the moment. We play. I mean, look, we play games. Joe's playing The Quarry. Although I'm a bit bored, it's like the slowest game I think I've ever played, but or I've ever watched being played. So yeah, we do modern gaming. We play more modern games than we play retro games.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We've got the main consoles in the other room, and the ones that we actually play on the decent telly and stuff. Okay, well, we're coming to the end. We should probably wrap up. So the last question, and this is the same. I'm going to keep this the same. So we're always going to end with this. So, if I don't know, let's say, imaginary, disaster struck, you got to sell the whole collection tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
But you're allowed to keep one thing. What would it be?
Okay. It's a question that gets asked. It's a question that I have asked. It's a question that I have had asked. And it changes all the time. The one thing I would say, so I'm going to answer your question, but first off, the one thing I would say is that I wouldn't keep anything. So if I know what you're saying, I have to, so I'm going to answer your question in respect for the question. I'm going to answer your question. But reality is, if I ever leave this hobby, I will sell everything and I won't keep anything because I would need to move on. Because the problem, what I can't do is why I don't sell anything, because I know that I will want that item back. If I sold something and then I saw it for a little bit cheaper than what I sold it for, maybe, or I'd get withdrawal symptoms, and I think, oh, you know what, I want to get. Actually, why did I sell that? I'm such an idiot. I didn't need to sell it. It's why I've held on to my Evercade stuff. I've nearly sold my Evercade stuff about 5 times. I've got loads of Evercade stuff. It's back kind of on the border of shouldn't I sell it again now? And I just keep it and I go to sell it and I keep it and all the rest of it. So the reality is I would probably get rid of it all. But for answering your question, there are 3 items.
Ooh.
Now, I will tell you that I'll put them in order. I'll say the third, second and last items that would ever go from the room. So the third from last, would be my PS2 that I found with Joe very early on when I met Joe. I found this Astral Blue PS2.
Man, look at that.
So this is called I think it's called an automotive edition. In the PAL territory, it's extremely rare. There's only been one for sale. I think there's one in Australia, or there was one in Australia that sold for about £850 without the box.
Jesus Christ.
It's a very, very rare. These are just fingerprints and dust. It's very, very good condition. Got the controller. It's boxed. It's got all the books inside. Like, it's in amazing condition. I'm not going to drop it. I would. Yeah, I'm not going to drop it. There isn't a mark on it at the moment until I drop it. And I found this very early with Joe. Very, very. We'd only just met, and she'd accepted the fact that I was a collector. And I told her, I think I found this PlayStation, and it's blue, and look, it could be someone could have painted it or something, but I think this is a very, very rare item. We need to go get it. And we're sitting there, halfway through a glass of wine or a quarter way through a glass of wine on a Sunday, watching telly. And she's like, sorry, what? No, I'm sitting down. I'm like, I'm chilling out. Oh, come on, let's go get it. She's like, okay, yeah, all right, let's go get it. So, yeah, we turned up. I bought this in the box in perfect condition. The box is up there in perfect condition. With about 15 PS1 games for £100.
Jesus.
And this was one of my greatest finds. One of the greatest finds. So I will never sell this. One, because of the whole Joe thing. Two, because it was just unbelievable. Three, because I think only certain people got to buy these. I don't know lots about them, and not loads of people. So in the comments, if anybody knows loads about this concept, and I don't mean the stuff that's online, because I've seen there's 2000 and blah blah blah, but they come in yellow. I mean, if you've got any kind of insider information on how you got one of these, whether they was just purchasable. But apparently the guy that I bought it off, again, said he found it in his loft, or it was in his loft. He thought it was his brother's from years and years ago. His brother used to work for Sony, and here it is.
How the story holds up then, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah. But again, someone might say otherwise. So that would be number 3. That would be, all these games can go because they're all replaceable. But that's not, for me anyway. That
is amazing. Yeah.
You never ever find them in that condition.
No, that's amazing.
So, the second one is another thing that you are very unlikely to find, and one just sold on the Sega. There was a post on it on the Sega Saturn Facebook group. There was a post that someone sold one of these. Now they sold it, I think it sold for about £600, but without this, which is a big part of it. And it wasn't this one, it was the black plain one. It wasn't this grey one, which I think is a bit rarer. So what it is a Psygnosis development kit. It's a Sega Saturn, obviously. I'm sure everybody knows that already.
Yeah.
But it's a Psygnosis development kit. So Psygnosis used this to develop the games that they've released. This one was specifically for a certain game.
What's the one? The side, not the 2D platformer one. Well, I never remember.
I can't think. I'd have to look in. This was, because you can tell by the time it was released, or by the serial number or something. There was someone told me what it is someone got in touch and said he thought that this was specifically used for a certain game that was developed by Psygnosis. But anyway, I don't know. So
someone must know that. If someone knows that, just drop it. I think there's loads in there, but anyway, yeah.
There's a few people that know about these, and one of the guys on the forum said, if you ever sell it, no matter what the price is, you need to tell me about it, because to find this blue cartridge, to find this actual console, this style, grey, with the serial numbers still, with the numbers on it, and with the blue cartridge in the back for the development kit piece, because apparently you can't. It does power up. It does work. It plays all regions. I've played a few games on it, but it just sits on the shelf and doesn't get touched. But yeah, Psygnosis development kit. This would be the second thing that it would be tight between the PlayStation 2 and this, by the way. But the reason this would be the second thing was because this was another thing that I found with Joe. So Joe's obviously got some good luck on her side, and I was saying to her, we was driving back from a place where we go to. And we went into a house, or there's a house clearance shop. And the last 5 times I went in this house clearance shop, there was nothing in there. And I said, and she said, "Oh, we stopping at the house clearance shop?" And I went, no.
Yeah, we should do it. Let's do it. Come on, just
there's nothing in there. And she went, no, come on, look, we're going past anyway. We're going past.
Man, you owe her, see, big time.
And we went past, and I stopped, and I went in there, and I said, and this was sitting on the side like that.
Jesus.
And it didn't have the cartridge in it. I think the cartridge was on it, something like that anyway. And she went, is that a Sega Saturn? I was like, yeah, I think so. So I went up there, saw this port coming out the side, read Psygnosis, and I just said to the guy, how much is that? And he went, Sega Saturn, I'll take 60 quid for it. I was like, yeah, okay, can I have that, please? So we left the shop And I said, Joe didn't have a clue like what it was. She just thought it was a Sega Saturn, which are 50 quid. I said, Joe, that's a development kit. That's worth a lot of money. And she was like, is it? She said, I said, yeah. She said, oh, you probably best, like, did you get a receipt? I was like, no. She went, right, we need to go back in and get a receipt because, you know, say that somehow this is worth thousands and he comes and says, oh, he conned me for it or something. I don't know what the story is. You're not going to have a receipt. He said, you need to go get a receipt. She said, so again, she's using her brain. You know, I wasn't. She's gone.
I would have been gone. I'd have been worried he wasn't going to take the deal and I'd just quickly have paid and then gone.
Exactly. So it came with, so we went and got a receipt. She went and got the receipt. So it came with this, the controller, a 3D controller. God knows why it didn't even come with it. It's white, the 3D controller. And then when I opened it, it had, and it's still got it in here now, Street Fighter the movie, which the Japanese version, terrible game. But yeah, there's the receipt that Joe got. Sega Saturn. £65 actually. I lied. Not £60. £65. And there it is. So that's why that would be the second one. And I apologise, I'm taking time to get through this. But that would be the second one, which again involves Joe. Goes to show that it's lovely. And it is a lovely thing to have your partner involved in the hobby to a degree as well. She's not as into it as what I am, obviously, but she likes finding games. And the first one and the last thing I would sell is a game. And the reason why I would sell it last is because, again, it sounds soppy, but on meeting Joe, the first present she ever bought me was this game.
Wow.
Donkey Kong 64. The first present she ever bought me. And she bought me it because I had gone into the shop, and this is my stupidity, and this is the way I operate, to let you in on a little secret. I'd gone into the shop, and I think this was up for something like £45 at the time. Might have been £50. And I said to Joe, oh, that's in lovely condition, that is. I'd love to get that game, just a bit too dear. And she went, sorry, like, what should it be then? I said, well, you know, they normally go for about £40. And she's like, how much is this? How much is it? Oh, it's like £45 or something like that. I'm like, she's like, Rob, we spend that on like 2 coffees or a beer in the pub. What are you doing? Just buy the dear one. I went, no, I'll leave it. So I left the shop, and yeah, the next minute she said, oh, I got you a little present. Like, she went back there especially to the shop when I wasn't there, got it. And she went, oh, I got you a little present, and there it was. So yeah, that is probably the last thing I would sell because of that reason. But you know what, John, like I said in the first place, which takes all this soppiness out of it, I'd probably just sell it all. And I wouldn't keep any of it if I was going to get rid of it.
In case you got lured back in.
Exactly.
Oh wow. Well, that's incredible. So thanks very much for sharing all that with us. I mean, that was those 3 gems at the end there, absolutely brilliant. Probably have to reword that question there, but that was fine. That was fine, mate. I mean, that's brilliant. So I just want to say we're going to wrap up now. Thanks very much, Bob, Essex Retro Gamer. It's been great. Thanks very much for sharing all your stuff and, you know, your thoughts on the industry and everything like that. Industry, you know what I mean? Thoughts on the hobby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll drop all the links and everything down below. You can reach out, Rob. You're on what platforms?
We got rid of Twitter just because it's a cesspit of whatever. We got rid of Twitter, so I'm not on there anymore. We're on mainly Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. That is it. Nothing else.
All right. Thanks very much.
No, thank you, John. Thanks for having me on. So brilliant to see a series like this start off. I'll be making sure that I watch all of them, and all success. I hope you have all the success you want.
Thanks very much. Cheers, mate.
Good luck.